September 6, 1976. A Soviet fighter jet is screaming across the Sea of Japan at 500 miles per hour. It is flying dangerously low, just 100 feet above the waves. Inside the cockpit, Lieutenant Viktor Belenko is sweating. He isn't just a pilot, he's a man on a suicide mission. He has stolen the Soviet Union's most guarded secret, the MiG-25 Foxbat. To the west, this plane is a monster, a super fighter that can outrun missiles. To the Soviets, it is a national treasure worth killing for. But right now, to Viktor Belenko, it is a metal coffin. He is lost in the clouds. His radio is jammed and his fuel guard is touching the red line. He has 30 seconds to find a runway, or he crashes into the freezing ocean. To understand why a loyal Soviet pilot will risk treason and death, we first have to understand the machine itself. In the 1970s, the MiG-25 was a bogeyman of the West. Years earlier, radar had tracked a mysterious Soviet aircraft flying at Mach 3.2. That is more than 2,000 miles per hour, faster than anything Americans had. Pentagon analysts looked at the blurry spy photos and panicked. They saw massive wings, they saw huge air intakes. They assumed that because the wings were so big, the plane must be incredibly maneuverable, an apex predator that could rule the sky. The fear was so deep that the US Air Force rushed to build the F-15 Eagle, specifically to survive a war against this monster. But Viktor Belenko knew the truth. He knew the superfighter was a lie, and he was about to hand that lie to the Americans. The escape began as a routine training mission in Siberia. Belenko waited for the squadron to turn, and then he jammed his stick forward. He dove. He dropped from 19,000 feet to 100 feet in seconds. By flying this low, he vanished from Soviet guard radar. He became a ghost. But flying a 20-ton jet at sea level comes with a terrible price. The air is thick, the drag is immense, the massive engine began drinking fuel at a terrifying rate. He had planned to land at a US military base in Kitose, Japan, but the clouds were too thick. He couldn't navigate. He was flying blind into Japanese airspace in a nuclear-capable bomber. Suddenly, the clouds broke. Belenko saw a runway. It wasn't a military base. It was Hakodate, a civilian airport, and he was coming in head-on against a taken-off Boeing 727. He swerved to avoid the airliner. He had seconds to line up. He was coming in way too fast at 220 knots. He slammed the massive jet onto the tarmac. He hit the brakes. He pulled the drag chute lever, but the force was too violent. The chute ripped away. The MiG screamed off the end of the runway. It flowed through the grass, smashed through the radar antennas, and finally ground to a halt, just feet from the busy highway. Japanese motorists stopped their cars to take pictures of an alien spacecraft. Belenko climbed out of the cockpit. He fired his pistol into the air to warn them back, but the airport officials arrived. He didn't surrender. He simply said, "I'm an American now." The Japanese were furious, but the Americans, they were celebrating, loaded it onto a C-5 Galaxy and flew it to a secret bunker to dissect it. But when they opened the panels, the American engineers were shocked. They expected advanced lightweight titanium. Instead, they found heavy, hand-welded steel. The plane wasn't a maneuverable fighter. It was a brick. If the pilot tried to turn tightly, the heavy steel wings would literally rip off. Then they checked the radar system. They expected advanced microchips. Instead, they found vacuum tubes, technology from 1950s. At first, the Americans laughed. They thought the Soviets were backwards. But then they realized the genius. Vacuum tubes do not melt during nuclear wars, unlike delicate American microchips. The MiG-25 was EMP-proof. It wasn't a fighter jet. It was a weapon designed for the apocalypse. Belenko's defection changed history. It proved that the superfighter was a myth. But the fear of that myth had forced America to build F-15 Eagle, which went on to become the most successful fighter jet in history. Viktor Belenko was granted asylum. He became an engineer, married an American woman, and never returned to Russia. Belenko survived his secret mission, but during the Cold War, some pilots simply vanished. In our next documentary, we are reopening the file on the vanishing army, a chartered flight carrying 93 elite US Army Rangers that took off across the Pacific and flew straight into a mystery that the government still refuses to explain. What happened to the Flight 739? Subscribe and turn on notifications to find out. I'll see you there.